What up, people? Sorry, YouTube, for the delay. Delay of game, 5-yard penalty, still first down. 683 here at the highs. Massive, colossal bottom wick with volume. Boom, right here. 691 coming up. Pre-market high is going to be right at the 750, and they are quickly approaching that. Is another 50 points higher, of course. They're going to see what they want to do. Are they going to blow the top off here? What do they intend to do? Right now, there's not a lot of follow-through, but they're trying to. We got 693, 700. On NASDAQ, liquidity. Where's the liquidity at is the question. $698. We do have data today, so be careful. We have data at top of the hour, which is Michigan consumer sentiment. It's very, very minor data, but it is data regardless. Extraordinary. Did I take a trade on that? I did not. I'll tell you if I take a trade. Now, I don't trade the first 15 minutes. But I like to analyze, and I like to watch price action because even when I'm not trading, I'm still analyzing. I'm still seeing if the system works. Just because I'm in a trade or not in a trade doesn't mean that my system still doesn't work, right? And the 3 C's are extraordinary. What's up, Samson? 698 here. There's no rejection. There's no high volume spike on that. Let's go to the 5. Right now, huge bottom wick, right back into the realm of 687. And it appears they want to try to get above this and go to the pre-market highs. Top step tilt right now is showing 73% long. That's a little extended. That is a little extended. These last few weeks have been just like you said. Never worry about missing the sell-off. The dips are more lucrative. Absolutely, John. Buy the dip. Everyone's screaming for them from the rooftop to short, short, short. This is the big rollover. Yada, yada, yada. I don't care. Buy the dip. Buy the dip. In fact, just the other day, we were at a Mexican restaurant. And my wife asked me, hey, do you want any cheese dip? I said, I have to buy it. Simply out of principle, I have to buy it. 509 coming up. We have put selling. We have call buying. What's up, y'all? Dad jokes is what we crave. That's right. I'll be here all week. Try the veal. How's the Mexican up there in Alaska? It's good. They don't use beef down here, so it's like they use whale blubber. So instead of chicken, instead of carne asada, it's whale asada. But hey, it's good. I like it. What's up, Zuelis? You're killing me by the deep. Oh, man. Do you take a little bowl and mix in some queso and spicy salsa? No, but I have a funny story about that. So one time I went out to a group setting dinner at a Mexican restaurant, and we ordered a large bowl of queso, and of course they had a little salsa that you get with the chips that's free. And without asking, without conferring or a group consensus, one of the individual's wives took the salsa and dumped the whole thing right into the queso and mixed it up. And she's like, this is how I like it. And it took everything I had not to take like my jug of my little cup of water and just like sling it in her direction. Instant ban, yeah. Yeah. $532 million in calls, 22 million in puts, and we are climbing higher. There's a 700 rejection coming up. It is super rude. That is super rude. Are they going to take this thing out or what? Major call buying here. Major call buying here. If they can close that little pivot after that little bottom wick here, we'll look for pre-market highs. But so far, it's just shaking and baking. Shaking and baking. Major call buying coming on here. We have 632 million in calls purchased, 16 million in puts. So and they're still piling into some calls here. Not to say that, they're not going to have shenanigans, but yeah. See what they need to do. 700 coming up. Mixing the two days does take. I'm sure it's delicious, but that's not the point. Like you have to confer with the group, right? Hummus and guac are the dip. Yeah, I do love some hummus. So we are holding right up here at 690. Taking a look at the S&P, we have 6687, and they have only a few more points until they hit their pre-market levels of 6690, which is the imbalance created by the gigantic move after PCE. Some of the biggest news movement we've had in a while. Interesting that would move that much. In my opinion, that wasn't a news event move because PCE is just a precursor to PCE, or I'm sorry, CPI, and it came in line. So it wasn't mid, it wasn't hit. I think, in my opinion, the market is still over-positioned to the short side on the short time scale, not the long time, because VIX still can't hold a bid. So everyone taking the shorts, everyone taking the puts, they're kind of tiptoeing the market into markdown, but they're not ready yet. So a little bit of pressure, pop up 100 points. What do I do after I hit the $3,000 in TPT? Can I still trade and make money? But today, because it hasn't been 5 days yet. If it's the eval, just open up and close a trade. You know, just open up a trade and close a trade. And that'll suffice for today's trading. And then don't touch it. Do you look at levels on the S&P for support and resistance on Bookmap and use those areas to support and resist for NASDAQ? No. However, I have to have a good situational awareness of the both markets if I'm going to do this style of trading. So if the S&P is coming up on a very major support that's correlated both on historical levels and Bookmap, let's say there's like a 1,500 buy order sitting at, let's say, I don't know, 10 points lower, and both markets are trending down, and ES still shows signs of bouncing off of that, I have to anticipate some buying on the NASDAQ as well. Obviously, they're not correlated like that. I get that. But the markets do tend to correlate with price action, especially if you're looking on the short-term stuff. That's why on days where there's a heavy divergence between the two, you have to kind of go hands-off. Because when NASDAQ is rocket ship while ES is sliding lower, it's kind of difficult to get a handle on which one to play, which one's going to catch up. Big old sweeping rejection. Know what I mean? Know what I mean, Vern? Big old red candle. Look at that. Look at that. Is that a sweep candle? Is that a sweep candle to go higher? It might be. It might be. Because that red candle kind of came out of nowhere. So we need to see. Let's see, we have 467 still coming down here. Where's the tilt at? The tilt is now 63% long. We are 4 minutes away from my trading time. 4 minutes. They sold off some of the calls there. Remember, this is Friday, so Friday typically does one or two things. It either is relentlessly blast off trend or downtrend, either one, or it's a very tight, choppy, fake out day. There's no in-between beautiful range on Fridays typically. So just be careful. I've been the waiting to 9:45 has treated me very well this week, being very patient, waiting for 9:45. So I have to recommend you do the same. Me 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 me. You jabronis, you bunch of jabronis over here. How you doing? Mortadella. How you doing? All right, big old bottom wick, of course. They are still shaking out this top range. They are still shaking out the top range. What y'all thinking on YouTube? Any new people on YouTube just found me for the first time? What's going on? Another beautiful bottom wick on NASDAQ. Are we going to break out? What's up, Dan? What if the fake out today is that it is a range day? It's very possible, Twizzy. It's very possible. Hey, did you get some sleep this evening, or do you stay up all night again? Look at that beautiful, beautiful bounce. I love bounces. I love bounces. Heck yeah, baby. In fact, I'm so bullish I need to go try some Rocky Mountain oysters. Let's do it. Let's do it. 24,703. Peak above, no volume spike. There's no volume spike on that candle. So be careful shorting. Look at the options. 1 billion in calls purchased, 127 million in puts sold. And there's no volume spike on that. So even if they do dump this back over, of course I'm not shorting anything, but let them do it. There's no volume spike. That was my first time here yesterday. Beautiful, Doug. What do you think? I'm like 50 first dates. I have to find you every day. Well, if you like and subscribe to the channel, then you'll get notifications when I go live. You don't have to look for me. I'll come to you, baby. I'll come to you. All right. You slept good. Good. Peak above the morning range. Now, of course, forming a new range, but no volume spike. And they just tiptoe back down. We are now at 9:45, so I am now active. What are they going to do today? So far, it's back and forth, little dumperoni. That was not a high volume rejection. We did have a higher volume spike, but that is not high volume, especially enough not to dump it 60 points. Now, what are you seeing yesterday afternoon and today that's different from what we've been experiencing Monday through Wednesday? The price action is becoming a little bit more erratic. We're starting to have 50 and 60 point candles on NASDAQ very quickly. And it's very, very different from what we've been seeing. So we have to be aware of that. That type of behavior is signs of a market beginning to shift sentiment. Look, high volume. Look at that, high volume. Let's see what they do with this. Let's see what they do with this. If they can hold the bottom wick, then we might have a qualified bounce up right here. That's a beautiful high volume bottom wick on the 1. And we're going to try to get ourselves up. Right there. Boom. 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 Roll the stop up. And let's see if we can get highs of the day. First trade of the day. Beautiful. Beautiful. Give me the high of the day. And I'm signing off to go in and get queso and salsa mixed together. Involuntarily. Let's go, baby. Let's go. There's 35 points. There's almost 40. Can we get high of the day? Roll the stop. I'm going to lock in. Hold on a second. I'm going to lock in. Okay. Boom. No top wick so far. What I meant by lock in is trailing stops, not lock in like what they say on the internet. What's up, Quackazoid? What do you got, buddy? Don't roll this. You now have the green light. Where's that ham sandwich? If they can close 712, I'm going to look for pre-market high. But so far, that is a 1, 2, 3, three-time rejection up here at the 700 area. So we need to absorb and close over that for me to start to take this baby to the promised land of 750. Let's go. Let's go. You know why the pre-market high is 747? Because it's going to take a 747 for me to carry all these gains, baby. Let's go. Once we close over this, we're going. You're locked in? I love it. If we shift, are you going to change to only shorts? If we shift, yeah, once we go on a macro downtrend, yes, I will start shorting the rips. But even still, I'm going to look to buy the dips too. It's just I'm not going to be as aggressive. I'm not going to be as bullish. I'm not going to be pounding the table and said no shorting. But this week, this week has been my highest profitable week of September in a month where I'm putting on, in my opinion, one of the best months I've ever traded. I haven't taken a short position yet this week. I've only been buying the dips, and I've made more money than I have in the entire month of September this week. What does that tell you? And I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you is that the 3 C's are so incredibly accurate that all you have to do is wait for a high volume inflow, confirm on the 5, take an entry, take your hands off the trade. That's it. But if you chase the short side, they use the short side to induce liquidity. That's why shorting is so difficult. The short side of the market is a mechanism on which to induce liquidity through the process of emotion. And they see your emotions through the orders on the book. So if you chase the shorts, you're going to get bamboozled. Let's play bamboozled. The dad jokes today are powerful. I love it, Mojo. I still can't claim the market high here, the day's high. If I can do that, though, 750 will be on the books. I would anticipate they're going to try to stop run me before they do it, as they always do. So I have to make a decision. Do I hold white knuckle this baby to see if I can get me another 50 points, or do I trail my stop up and be smart and stop out and let them watch this thing go? I don't know. I started a small $15,000 position in UPS with my 401k yesterday, and I'm telling you, when I missed Boeing in 145, I was super salty. Yep, I'm heavily invested in Boeing and UPS. It's great stuff, baby. Come on. 24,709. Give it to me. Give me the 747. Give me the 747. This does look like a little absorption. This doesn't look like rejection like we had last time. There's no volume inflow. There's no rejections. They just closed over new high. We have to get this thing closed over 712, and we'll go to 747. They are buying calls and selling puts. Oh, here comes the stupid top wick. You jabroni. I knew you were going to do that. I'm out. Stupid freaking red candle. I knew they were going to do that. All right. Still a great trade. Not getting my 747 though. It's because I talk smack. When you talk smack to the market, it's gonna smack back. We have data in 8 minutes. There's that stop out candle. You're locked in. Nice knife of life. I love it. Yep, just subscribe, bring up YouTube, and it shows me streaming. Love it. What's up, Samuel? How you doing, buddy? All sports tees. Love it. Give us an opportunity to buy the dip. We'll see. We'll see. On Fridays, I want to be locked in by, obviously I've been closing out all my accounts by 10 o'clock anyway, except for my IBKR. But I really want to get in early and take my hands off as early as I can on Fridays, because Fridays go stagnant very quickly. Very quickly. Top wick back over. What's gold doing? I haven't even looked at gold. I looked at it in pre-market, but we're doing that. Oil is coming up. They put on a beautiful high volume top wick and a beautiful high volume bottom wick. Now they're just kind of fluctuating. Where's liquidity? We have a very minor amount of liquidity right at 750, which is that level from the pre-market high. But there's virtually nothing on the book for NASDAQ. On ES, they've got 6,700, 6,715. They've got 6,682, and not much else. Now there's a whole bunch of liquidity, big liquidity, way down, like 6,500, 6,200, 5,200. I'm talking way down. But as of today's session, very light potatoes up to 6,715. Setting up a massive catering order for a hospital. Nice side gig. Beautiful stuff, buddy. Thanks, Joshua. Appreciate it. Great coverage again. Thank you. Is it smart to buy 2 micro contracts on a 50K account, or is that enough risk per trade? I think that's very smart. In fact, if you're running those smaller prop firm accounts, that's where you need to hang out. 2 to 3 micros is about it. It's obviously going to take you longer to pass the accounts, but that drawdown is going to catch up quick if you start trading minis. I mean, one bad trade on NASDAQ on a mini, and you're going to blow the account in 30 seconds. Now, you're going to pass the account very quickly when you're trading well, but you can't make your decisions based on when you're trading well. You have to make your decisions on when you're trading bad, because one bad trade and you wipe out a very large amount of gains. So 2 to 3 micros is consistent. Now, if you're having trouble passing accounts using small position sizing, then I would argue that your system isn't dialed in. There's something wrong with your system if you're unable to pass accounts with small position sizing. If you have to use leverage and rely on winning streaks to pass accounts, then I would argue that you're not going to have much consistency. Unable to break out. So the longer we hold out here, they might have to have a retracement to gather inventory. Silver may hit 46 today. Can we expect an October sell-off after window dressing? It's possible. So seasonality, if someone posted, I forget who this was, last month, posted that every single month this year has done opposite of what the historical seasonality says it does. Every single month, including July and August and September. So I don't know when it's going to come. I think everyone's kind of anticipating a big sell-off. Even the most bullish of people, I think, are still anticipating some sort of sell-off in October now that it hasn't happened in September. So that makes me wary of it. So I could definitely see one more blast off, especially after the past 3 days, to get everyone all super, get the seller to capitulate and get us a true selling climax. Because the past 3 days, and I posted it yesterday in the Discord server, that the chart screams accumulation, not distribution, which means we're going higher based on what I'm seeing here. You can't have a shift into markdown. Thinking about the Wyckoff and Anna Collins 4 market cycles, which is accumulation into markup, distribution into markdown. If you're looking for a phase switch from distribution into markdown, you cannot have relentless bottom wicks into the afternoon. Just can't happen. It's got to be the opposite. You have to have green mornings with aggressive red selling as the market makers begin to mark their positions for sell-off. And what we saw the past 3 days was 3 days of relentless buy the dip, relentless bullish activity at the lows, which led to me thinking that today was going to be an aggressively green day. So if I want to see a markdown, yes, we could discuss the possibility of seasonalities in October and stuff like that, which, if I'm being honest, I probably will expect it to sell off in October, but I am not going to act on that until I see the signs of sell-off, until I see the signs of shift into markdown through the process of selling climax and seller's capitulation. Will I even consider the possibility of a position to the downside? Yes, you can put on hedges. That's fine. Hedges are absolutely dead weight until the signs are there. The way that I process hedging, the way that I process putting on protection, when the signs are there, that's when I begin to put on hedges. Blindly putting on hedges because you're at highs, you're just pissing money away. And you're causing yourself undue stress and dead weight. So I'm going to begin to hedge when the signs are there. Right now, heck, we could wake up Monday at new all-time highs. That was you? Yeah. It was good stuff, too. Any algo traders in here? I need some help with web hooks now. I need some help with building a website. It is shockingly difficult to find someone to build a website. ES ticks are getting weaker as we are approaching highs. Nice. Well, they're still absorbing into 24,710. We had the higher volume wick on that crazy shakeout candle at 950 that got me out. And if they capture that level, the thesis remains. The thesis remains 750 if they can close the highs, especially if you don't get any major sell here. Sellers can't retrace from the highs. I'm on a 50K combine. I'm aiming for $200 a day. I use it. Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's fantastic. Have I done a video about the 3 Cs? I have. I have more videos to come as well, but I'll give you the link for it. Boom. In the chat. I've taken one trade today if you're just joining us. One long off the bottom wick here at 9:45, which is my designated trading time. I don't take trades before 9:45. I start at 9:45. You're welcome. One minute, we have Michigan consumer sentiment, so be careful placing positions in the next 30 seconds. I would wait till the top of the hour before you put a position on. Have I always waited till 9:45, or is this based on the 3 Cs? No, I haven't always waited. In fact, I would try to, back in the day, I was always trying to get on whatever I could see. But I've refined the process, and my rule of 9:45 was born through my trading log. Understanding that, hey, why are all my stupid losses at 9:37, 9:31? Like why? And then I realized, well, because when I'm taking the first 15 minutes, that's the manipulation phase of the order book, and I was getting wrecked. Yes, I would have a couple of trades that were massive wins, but the nickel and dime, the death by 1,000 cuts were destroying me in the first 15 minutes. So, I came out and realized that, hey, I'm going to start trading at 9:45. It used to be 30 minutes, yeah, but my data didn't support sitting out the entire first 30 minutes. There's the data move. New high of the day to 9:30, of course, right there. Obviously, I'm already stopped out of my long trade, so I can't relish in the big gains up to 747 yet. There we go, still going, 728. Am I looking for volume on the 1 minute, then go to the 3 and the 5 to see the price action? Not the 3, but the 5, yes. So what I have right now, blast off, I have 2 charts open at the exact same time. The 1 minute, which is what you all are looking at, I've got the 5 minute that's off stream that I'm looking at the same time. It's the same exact chart except it's 5 minute. And I'm able to track both of them at the exact same time. The 1 minute inflow, the 5 minute confirmation on price action is a very accurate indication for me. The dance between the two is a very accurate indication for me. Does the volume on the news release hold weight? I pictured you yelling at your computer. It does matter, but you have to be very much aware of it. You have to be. I don't treat it as like right now. If there was no data there and I saw that volume candle, I would be encouraging you all to either get out of long positions, or for those who like to short, to begin to enter short positions. However, because that's data, I have to treat that with a little bit less confidence. I have to be like, all right, well, that's just news data. Or data volume, so I can't treat it with the same amount of confidence, if that makes sense. My wife is having surgery on 28, and she were told she'll need help for 2 to 3 weeks. May not be in the room. All right, Damien, I'll pray for you, buddy. Hopefully she has a speedy recovery. What's up, Math? What'd you do, buddy? Hey, there you go. Did you get your fill? Beautiful, man. I love it. No? Man, that's a big old top wick right there. But even still, that was a high volume 3C top wick. I mean, so you see, even with data, that still showed supply into 733, top wick back over. So the high volume still works there. Right, they're back and forth. Right now, the 5-minute chart is red, green, red, green, red, green. And they are wrecking it. Wanted to say thank you. What's up, man? Started with your stream end of July. I had analcholing on my iPad. Never read it. Finally read in August. Your 3C approach seems to be the final touch for me. Nice, John. I hope that you find major success. Let me know if I can help. I love it, dude. I love it. There's a lot of people that this is starting to click with, and it makes me feel good. I hope it changes your life, or at least improves your life in some way. Sweeping top wick so far. That is an engulfing large red move with a high volume 3C top wick there, coming over to 683. No additional trades for me yet. I'm going to get something going, so be patient with me. Be patient with me. I'm a simple guy. I see high volume, I buy. You said you did a video on the 3Cs. If so, can you please post a link? Yes, sir. I can do that. Share it with your friends. There you go. Interesting. Interesting. All right, 674. Hanging out. Still going lower. Still going lower. What do they plan on doing here? Haven't even tracked the options data here. What's the options data doing? Options data right now is showing we have gone from 1.1 billion in calls purchased down to 638 million in calls. So they did sell some of the calls here. We have 54 million in puts sold, but that is down 400 million. So they have changed things up a little bit. What I would love to see, sell off down to the day's lows of 597, high volume 3C bottom wick, and me take along, and then we blast back up to 730. And yeah, we have a very good Friday. That's what I would love to see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait, not shorting, and I'm going to wait for a high volume 3C bounce, which I know eventually they're going to give me. All I have to do is wait. All I have to do is wait. When I have outlier obvious volume, that's when I'm going to look to take entry. Until then, I'm going to sit here. I'm going to sip on my delicious ice water and not crunch ice. Patience is the key. Purchase the queso, yeah. Is this podcast on Spotify? Yes, it is. The Making Millionaires podcast. It's got a 5-star review. Go take a look. I appreciate your support. What's the 3 C's? The 3 C's are my trading system. It's what I call the 3 criteria. This thing is getting blasted. Look at this. Look at this. Go lower, baby. Go lower. Give me some volume. Give me some volume. They're blasting it. Touch that 7.0 at the 5.99. This is a very aggressive red move. Very aggressive red move. What are they going to do here? Coming on down. When they give us volume into this area, the high volume, if they give it to us, will result in a very aggressive wick. That's what they've been doing with this stuff. Very aggressive wicks. Now we have high volume here. Now all we need is the confirmation of wick. Knowing, with my situational awareness, they can still test this thing down to 597. So the shakeout, whichever, remember the high volume doesn't always tell you that it's going to be the exact low. It's just going to be in the ballpark of the exact low. And that's my job, is I have to find a solid enough entry where I could find somewhere down in these lows. And all I need is that sweeping bottom wick that's just going to absolutely rocket launch. Down in this area. Is it going to be here? I don't know. Still need help with the third C? Well, remember, I want to specify the third C is an art form. The first two C's are technical. The first two C's is your rigid technical analysis. Your high volume and your price action. That is technical structure. The third C is an art form. The third C is confidence. The third C tells you, do you need to wait? Do you need to go ahead and get in? Do you need to get out? Are you wrong? That's the art form. And that the third C is really refined through back testing, through experience, through time in the seat, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes I'll trade on the first C alone. Sometimes I'll trade on the first two. Sometimes I'll have to wait for all three. And all of that depends on confidence. Done for the day on TPT. Nice D-Master. I like it. But my definition of the third C is when I can start to see price action claim higher highs. That's the general theme of the third C, which in any price action style system, that is your hallmark indication of a trend reversing to the upside, is that you need the price action to claim higher highs to show that the order book is accepting higher prices. That's the reason why I came up with the third C, is to identify that exact thing. So here we have a couple of different things to go off of. The close is my gold standard. I want to see them claim the close. Well, they've already done that. The close is 618 on NASDAQ. Now, if you want to get real confirmation, it's higher highs, which is 637. If they can get over the higher highs here, 637, then you've got a really good likelihood of beginning to at least going to 680, and then if it claims 680, we'll play the high of the day. So it's really just judging on, it's a way for you to define order book management. But it does come with your, you've got to do your work in getting that experience, figuring out what works for you. Oh, my bad. Yeah. I do that. I feel like I do that every day. And my back testing says when I get a high volume inflow, an extremely outlier high volume, there's a very high probability that the end of that move is near. So on a downside move, when you see an extremely high volume spike, most of the time that is going to note the bottom of that move plus or minus 10 to 15 points. And as long as you can withstand 10 to 15 points of drawdown, which I think every one of you should be able to do that, hopefully at least, then you're going to be okay. So, still coming down here, 608, 605, dropping, dropping, dropping. Here comes an official low touch. Right there. There's that low touch. Do we get a volume spike? We have liquidity coming on lower too. Still nothing. Still no volume spike yet. The Complete Guide to 3 C's by you buy that book. Yeah. I started the book a couple years ago, but I just, after about 3 chapters, I realized how difficult it was given the time that I have. So I'll need to do it. I've got a lot of stuff I got to do. ChatGPT. Yeah, I feel like that's disingenuous, though. I guess I could use ChatGPT to edit it. But, I would feel like a fraud if I wrote a book with ChatGPT and sold it. All right, beautiful bottom wick here. It's not a lot of volume. We do have a little bit of volume there, but it's a bottom wick regardless. So we'll see what we can do with this. $603, 600 still dropping. No volume spike yet. Still selling. If you don't have the supportive volume, you don't have support. So you can't buy the dip yet. It's still going to slide lower. There's 592, 593. No volume yet. That's a small volume spike. Small volume spike. But nothing holding yet. Very weak. Very weak. Patience is your best friend. Patience is your best friend. $6.10 still going. Right side of the V, baby. Right side of the V. Let them arrest the descent. Did you say you needed help making a website? I recently graduated the BS in software engineering. I may be able to help you out. I do need a website built. And I've reached out to a couple of people, but they have all said they're unable to do it. And so I've kind of tiptoed into learning how to because we built our own site ourselves, which is very rudimentary. It gets the job done, but it's obviously built by someone who doesn't know how to build websites. Flush red candle with no volume into 587. Coming on down. We have liquidity down to 575 right here. Let's take a look at ES. They have very, very light order book. We have a little bit of a ladder of liquidity down to 6660, but there's very light liquidity. Very light liquidity. NASDAQ is holding down to 588. Let's see what the 5-minute shows us. The 5-minute, we have a slight uptick in volume into this day's lows with a slight bottom wick, but they're still shifting into the 275 area. We still need a bottom wick on the 5-minute. And then I would love to see at least 606 hold on NASDAQ to kind of get us going. And then 621 would be final confirmation to come back to the high of the day. But again, you have to demand that confirmation. There's another sweeping bottom wick on the 5-minute. That right there already was a 25-point bottom wick on NASDAQ. Can they get it above 622? And that'll get us to, I don't know, 650 or so. But they have to close it. Don't they have an app for that? I'm sure they do. I can make them on MySpace, yeah. What exactly do you need done on a website? I just want something that's a little bit, I think that's something a little more functional, a little more modern. It actually looks presentable. I'm not very happy with the current website, so. Bunch of bottom wicks here. Options data right now, a little bit of put buying. There's more calls than puts on the books net, but they are buying a couple of puts here. All right, there's 610 on NASDAQ so far, 30-point bounce. $6.12. Give me a close, baby. 622 would give me a lot of confidence to come up to the high of the day. 622, but it's got to do it. Got to do it. They're closing out some of those puts. Editors are plentiful. Yeah. Some prop firm sites that look nice seem to be built by AI. Yeah. I know that there's a website called Framer that designs a website for you, and they have like an AI platform where you can Basically type in what you want and it'll spit out a brand new website in a couple of minutes, and then you have to put in what you want, customize it. But yeah. So NASDAQ is holding the 600 area after a bottom wick. What's the 1 minute show us? No incredible. We do have a small high volume spike to arrest the descent at 610 here, but nothing to really hold support, and things are still shifting lower. And here's another top wick back over. And right now, the sell candles are more aggressive than the buy. We're not getting a high volume bottom wick yet. Everything is just kind of creep up and then roll back over. So we need to see what's going to happen here. It's also kind of slow. It is, yeah. I know. So let's take a look at this. 615 appears to be the micro resistance. This 615 appears to be the level at which we need to get over. Claim 615 will give us a 3C to start moving up to maybe 650. Until then, I would remain cautious of buying the dip yet. Wait for 615. Until then, we may shift a little bit lower. They're starting to close out some of those puts that they purchased, and they're buying some more calls. So the option chain is shifting back to being a little bullish. 608. 615, 615. CL's at monthly high. Nice. See, another step back up to 615, another rejection on NASDAQ. They can't get through that 615. And if the bulls can't retrace that 615 soon, then they're going to put in a new low to gather more inventory. So they got to do it soon. You're welcome. It is 10:20. Another bottom wick. Multiple bottom wicks. I hope this doesn't turn into a Friday just back and forth chop fest, because we're chopping on the one. See how the 1 minute candles are inversing each other? It's at a 1 minute chop fest here. 1 minute chop fest. Another rejection off 615. Yeah, this one's going to take us down to 575. I bet. I bet so. Sweeping red candle off 615. Now they're coming down. And now they're going to test lower to gather more inventory. Or until we get high volume. ES is holding 66.70. Well, this is boring. Yeah, liquidity at 575, 570. But there's not a lot of volume down here. They're about to do it. Lower? It does look like it. That was adequate volume on the downwicks for you to check a 3C. So for me, there's two ways to apply 3C here. Extremely high volume inflow with a bottom wick that'll get us back up to 650 or even the high of the day, or lack of volume, which indicates absorption for a shift lower. Right now, it's the latter. It's no volume here. They're just shifting lower. Every single bottom wick won't hold. They can't claim higher highs, so now they have to shift lower to gather more inventory. And then we'll see, reevaluate. We'll see if we actually do get a high volume bottom wick. Otherwise, they'll just continue to shift. ES has liquidity down to 66.60. Another bottom wick. Gold just up, up, and away all day. Nice. Swept lower lows, yeah. So the liquidity here that I'm seeing, which is very, very light regardless, is down to 575. Now the CVD is still going deeply red, so there's no buyers hitting this tape. I don't see any sweeping bottom wicks. If I want to look for a bounce, obviously y'all know what I'm looking for, volume. But it's going to occur. See, another low. Every single candle's top wick lower. What I need, what'll probably happen is we'll have a quick red big candle out of nowhere. They'll bottom wick the crap out of it with volume, and that'll be your indication to go long. So kind of like right now, if they do something like that. The shenanigan candle is what I call it. Going lower. Going lower. 569. $568, $565, still coming down. $562, smoking it. Straight on, straight down. All right, we're down 200 points or so and still falling. High volume is still down. Smoking it. Breakdown day 546. Let's go for the low of the day of 457. It will be the next target. Sliding down day. 545. Man, crazy stuff. 545, 546, still falling. No bottom wick. A very high volume spike, but no bottom wick. Still no shorting for me. Highest volume spike in a while. On down. Still coming down. No bottom wick. No bottom wick. No higher highs. No long. Still shorting. Well, I'm not shorting, but I'm saying the bias is still short here. Still coming down. 536 and dropping. We're now selling off 200 points on NASDAQ. Straight down. Straight down. 535. Pre-market lows. It's coming on down, yeah. Blasted right through it. 532 and dropping. Straight down. Still straight down. No bottom wicks at all. No buying. Don't buy the dip. Do not catch the falling candle. Getting wrecked. Straight selling. Let's take a look at the options. The options aren't really all that bearish. Yes, they're buying some puts here, but they are just straight on selling here. Straight on selling. Boom. Bet we bounce off the year low of day. Wow. No shorting. I see 1 billion in bought puts reversed so many times. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Straight down, baby. Straight down. It's crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. $529. Next up, what do we got? Let's see. If we take that out, next up we go. I mean, the only thing really left is 451. 451, which is going to be yesterday afternoon's low. So crazy stuff. Bounces seem to happen when the VIX hits 17 and breaks. Yeah, yeah. A little bit of a bounce. A little bit of a bounce. Let's see what we got. C3, this oil C3 play is playing on monthly highs. Yeah. 30-point bounce right here. Let's go to the 5-minute. We could possibly have our first 3C indication yet. We'll see. They are roasting this market today. Here it comes. Big old bottom wick. Big old bottom wick right to 568, 570. Very interesting. Very interesting. 562. That was a hammer candle if I've ever seen one, dude. We might have our first 3C indication of the day. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That's the highest volume candle on the 5-minute of the day here. Now, oh, they're dumping it back over, so maybe not. We still have to get a high close. They haven't been able to do that yet. 571 would be your high close. Straight down. If they fail this candle, that's when you'll look for that next low of the day. Give me something, baby. Give me something. Let's see, 414 million in puts, 561 million in calls, and they bought back a lot of calls there, but they're still drilling this thing. What time frame do you look for a higher low? The 5-minute. So I'm going to trade off the 1 and confirm on the 5, of course. And the 5-minute is going to give me the higher high. So right now, 571 is my target. They just bottom wick the living crap out of that candle. 50-point bottom wick. And now they're dumping it all the way back over. So if they immediately dump the bottom wick, 100% you don't want to look to buy the dip. 100%. So I need that 571. And with this type of price action, I demand the 3C. So like there's no way you're catching a falling knife on this. You've got to play the 3Cs. So the 571 on this would be your target. And they're immediately dumping this thing back over. $5.54. They're trying to. They're trying to. When it's the extreme, they seem to fill it back. They fill it back in. Yeah, but when it's this extreme, this is where you have to really rely on the third C. This is what protects you because you could get destroyed playing this stuff. And every single time they try to bottom wick, they're just selling it back off, selling it back off. Just waiting. $5.53. Top wicks. If they close the 518, that's when we're going to play down to, we'll play down to 452. Look, they're dumping it again. Let's see where we got here. They're onto my system. Oh, not yet. Not yet. They got to close a higher high first. They haven't been able to do it. Higher high. 542 and the 571 is going to be your target. Otherwise, the way they're doing this on the 1 minute, every single bottom wick is rolled. Every one of them. Bottom wick roll, bottom wick roll, bottom wick roll. So seeing that, even right now, every time they try to bottom wick this, they dump it back over. So in seeing that, I have got to have 571 because I know the risk reward here is fantastic if you get the third C. But you've got to wait for the third C. You need a higher high to show you, all right, we're ready to start buying because they could put this thing another 200 points down. And you don't want to step in front of that. I'm new here. What are the three C's? The three C's stand for, it's what I call the three criteria, which the first criteria is volume. The second criteria is supportive or a rejection wick, depending on which move you're looking for. And the third C is price action, which is like clearing prior highs or prior lows. $555 million in calls, $560 million in puts, still buying them, and not a single 5-minute red candle here, or sorry, green candle. They're just selling off everything. There's zero supportive price action here, so no buy in the dip yet. There's zero supportive price action here. Everything is getting demolished. We had one little clearing bounce that they immediately dump back over. So 571 to me, in my opinion, 571 or nothing. $550. We are dead flat now. 550, 545. Every single little candle is closing red. We need 570. Trying to. IWM's not selling off. Let's take a look. RTY. WM. I mean, they did sell off, just not as aggressively as Nasdaq. ES, is holding up quite well too. All things, considered. I mean, like they fill in the wick when the hammer is at extreme. Yeah, yeah. All right. Prior high there is 599. So you see they came up to my target of 570 and immediately top wicked. Right here. Am I in a trade? No, I've told y'all a million times. No 3C indication until 570. They can't close 570, so no 3C long. Is the Prez talking? No. I got greedy and gave back almost a third of my profit. That's all right. Does the GEX telling us anything interesting today? I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at it. Five-minute candle is finally over the target. There we go. 580. Finally have a 3C bounce. Finally. Took forever. 581 coming up to next target will be your 595. 595. There we go. 584, 595. First target achieved. Now we're coming up. And beautiful. 600. What'd I tell you? Right side of the V. Right side of the V. That's all you need to do is just be patient, and you could buy any dip they throw at you. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. Look at that. Look at that monster candle. Almost a 100-point green candle. All you had to do was wait. All you had to do was wait. All right. Beautiful stuff. I've been watching this trend line since the 9th. Just a guide. Beautiful. Nice. 30 points from the confirmation unless you went in early. I'm not complaining about 30 points. I mean, heck. Now 40 points. That was beautiful, wasn't it? Just passed my 100K top step combine. Nice, TA. Beautiful. Well done. I feel like Finesse, for the most part, is leading the market. Would you say that tech is a better signal? I don't know. You know, obviously right now, the over the past couple of years, the leaders have drastically been tech. And we haven't really seen too much rotation in and out of that stuff. I mean, obviously Apple has been doing that. So, nice, Rowan Brewski. Well done. Look, we're still going. 618, baby. 618. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bounce. The whole way walking through it. Beautiful, beautiful bounce. Well freaking done. If you caught that move, well freaking done. No shorting, only by the dip. No shorting, only by the dip. 1.1 billion in calls purchased. Do you guys do market orders? I'm not fast enough. No, never market orders. What a move. Thanks for talking through it, helping with my patience. Nice. Well, that's the thing, man. You just got to confirm. It's very, like, you can get ahead of yourself if you're not just watching for confirmation. Because especially when they start dumping that move and the 1 minute starts doing that thing where they flutter lower, you have to demand higher highs. Why no market orders? You're going to get terrible fills. Especially if you're on the simulated book like prop firms, you're going to get terrible fills. You'll enter and already be 3 or 4 points in the hole. Watch, now people are going to try to short this thing and they're going to plummet right back to 740. It's crazy stuff, dude. Crazy stuff. Six two six. Blasteroni. They know people are going to try to chase this short. They know people are going to try to chase the short. We got to go. Come on, baby, squeeze it. Give me the high of the day. We just need a little continuation from here and we'll get high of the day. My calls are green again. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. So 595 was my first target. We blew right through that like it wasn't even freaking there. Now we come up to the prior pivot, which is 642. So it's fan-freaking-tastic. What was the confirmation you saw? I needed to get over 571. That was that prior pivot, which is the higher highs. Once you get 571, and even then, that was the late final confirmation. So if you're an aggressive player, you could have been in way before then, but it would have been a risky trade. I elected to wait for confirmation. I give back some potential profit for the purpose of confirmation. The second you see the right side of the V beginning to form, you catch the higher highs, you get in the trade, boom, you realize profit. So it's fantastic. Either way, though, you could have got in as early as you want or as late as you want. You could have got in after whatever, and you still would have made money as long as you waited for the right side of the V. So this 570, 571 area was the confirmation. I thought I made that pretty clear. So that the bottom wick going higher there, you've got the high volume, you've got the bottom wick. So you've got the first two C's are checked. But with the falling knife here and the way they did the 1 minute sell, you've got to wait for the third C, which is the 570, is what I elected to do. Yes, with this type of candle, with these type of candles, you're giving up a lot of potential profit waiting for the bottom wick. But regardless, it works out well because my theory, what did I say? The risk reward is fantastic if you're patient with this trade. If you're patient, because they can go all the way back up to the high of the day with this because they've been doing it all week. No, 570 was the third C. I didn't even mention that there is no fourth C today because there's no location here. Yeah, there's no location here. I feel like I accidentally set the stream to Chinese today. I might have to turn on a translation. They know we know. I love it. Got done with my work just in time to see the 3C setup and got in my alerts. Beautiful side gig. Well done. Fantastic. Fantastic. Awesome stuff, man. Look at that. Look at that, baby. Six 1-0. Where are the options telling us right now? We have about $1 billion in calls on the books. We have 440 million in puts, so they're definitely call heavy today. A little shakeout after the touch of 642. Boom. Make a 3C OM indicator. I think someone was working on that. Yeah. 596, 593, still dumping. 591, coming back over. And the bulls are out, or the bears are out for a fight today. They want their pound of flesh after this week. I'll take it. I'll take it. That's my second trade of the day. Probably will be done for the day. And I'll go from there, especially with as much bearish as there are right now. I feel like I've done pretty well. I want to make sure that I'm being safe. So I will probably call that a day after those two, or at least lock everything up. I'm kind of working, but progress have stalled. My latest update kind of screwed things. Has stalled. Okay, no worries. You're actually Chinese. So you'd understand what I was saying. There you go. Just need a $150 day Monday, and I could take out my first payout in months. Thanks for one. Beautiful, Van. I love it, buddy. I love it. 588, still selling off here. That is what, so far we're looking at a 50-point drop from that little pivot at 641. Right here. I can't post this. I just blew my top step. Uh-oh. What happened, Math? Selling flows are strong today. The selling flows are very strong today. So you have to, like if you're playing 3Cs, which a lot of you obviously are, wait for the third C because the selling flows are very, very strong. $585 still dropping. Look for the high volume here. If they take this out, if the buyers don't defend right about here, I'd probably say a retest of low of the day of 620. Dropping all the way back over. Massive red candles. They're selling everything. Selling the rip. Selling the rip. 575 still dropping. Coming on down, baby. Coming on down. Selling the rips. So the 5-minute volume behind the candle is what I'm thinking was stopping the freight train. Them filling their limits. So clearing the 572 is now latecomers. They have to close their positions instead of squeezing higher. Well, the 572 was just prior liquidity. So, that's the higher high theory, is that when you're looking for confirmation for a bounce, the right side of the V is you have to be able to accept higher highs. The order book is not, the chances of you just catching the very, very bottom bounce most of the time is a fool's errand. And sometimes you'll get lucky and catch the bottom tip. So catching the right side of the V is your best bet for trying to play the bounce, which is what we were trying to do there. And the third C of clearing 570, 571 on NASDAQ was your right side of the V trade. And it resulted in 70 points. So that just goes to show you, man, like if you just wait for the right side of the V and stop trying to be a jabroni and catch the bottom of it, you could play every single bounce no matter how big the red candle. But you've got to be able to be patient enough to wait for the right side of the V. I had 3 bad red days in a row, too much size. That happens. It's not about catching the knife, but catching it properly and safely. Right side of the V, man, I can't stress it enough. Whether it be an inverse V or just a V, right side of the V. That's what you need to be in your mindset. Forget about, all right, oh crap, I'm missing the bounce. No, you're not. The risk reward. The risk reward. But the seller's flows are very, very strong today. So, if you are going to play these high volume 3C moves, you've got to wait for the third C. These are much stronger flows than they were this whole week. Was it 578? $5.90, beautiful bounce. $5.92. What podcast did you interview the woman who wrote about volume? Yeah, that's on my YouTube channel. Complete or the Anna Colling who wrote the book Complete Guide to Volume Price Analysis. I'll get you the link here. There you go. $5.81. So multiple top wicks here on the 1 minute, of course. The 5 minute has a red engulfing. They have a weak green forming right now. We have no volume spikes yet, so with Friday being like this, the volume spikes are probably going to start to get a little bit more vague, especially the deeper you go into the afternoon. Glad I'm green because this looked pretty dead. Well, we had some beautiful moves there. There was some fantastic selling. We went from 733 all the way down to 720, so 210 points very quickly without any kind of volume spikes. And now they're going even higher here. So they bounced it back up. What? They went from 520 to 640, so 120 points or so. Dumped it back over again. Now they're a lot of back and forth, and the selling flows are incredibly strong today. And now they're going back up. Selling flows are very strong. Got to get back on the stream. I'd love to. I'd love to. It's been a while. That view you post on X is amazing. Thanks, Soda. That's my backyard. It's good stuff, man. I love it. That looks like a strong 3 rip setup. We'll see. We'll see. Like I said, the way I manage that trade, when I do something like that, I have to realize, like, man, when I put on a trade that well, and I analyze things that well, I like to just hands off, especially on a day like today. Because the worst thing to do, especially on a Friday, the worst thing to do is to give everything back, especially when you put on a really fantastic trade, because you could really ruin a weekend or even a session over trading. Not to mention, I know it's Friday. Historically, I don't do well on Fridays, at least as well as the other days. So, big old flusheroni red candle, 585. Inverse head and shoulders. Interesting. $5.91. Great stream, educational. Thanks, Kraken. Appreciate you, buddy. When you refer to higher highs and lows, are you considering the 5-minute time frame? I track the volume on the 1 minute. I track the price action on the 5. The higher highs are on the 5. Yep. Sometimes I do trade off the 1 like that, but only when I have a really strong location, like the 4th C that we talk about. I've got to have really good reason to be doing that. Took my first trade on prop account today, 2.5 point loss, but made it back with a 5.2 point trade. Nice, Kyle. Well done, buddy. I don't think people understand this one enough. It's really a huge part of the program. Get in line with it and become. Yeah, patience, baby. Patience. There we go. A little bit of red. I was a clean 50%. Was it? Look at that. Yeah, right off of it. Man, that's an amazing thing. Can you talk about position sizing? I notice you exit trades after 5 to 10 points relative to you. What do you mean, 5 to 10 points? You mean like I only take 10 points of profit before getting out? Both of my trades today were well over 60 points. I feel, am I speaking a different language today? Like, I think I've been incredibly clear with my trades and setups today, and I feel like I have to repeat myself like a billion times, even though I've been abundantly clear on everything I've done today. Or am I incorrect? Sometimes we're slow. Oh my gosh. Like more than usual. That's okay, I guess. That's all right. Top wick. Took some time. Y'all kill me. I love it. I love it. We are jabronis. We're all jabronis. I'm a jabroni. We're all jabronis. So what do we have here that we don't have earlier? We don't have any volume on these moves. 1 minute or 5 minute, nothing. So the only volume spike we have was the bottom wick that we played. Outside of that, no volume. So for me, I'm just going to watch this stuff. I'm a spectator for the rest of the day. Most likely, I'll probably not trade the rest of the day. Now rejecting 50% of the smaller range. Beautiful. No shorting by the dip 3C. That's been a plan all week. Yeah, it has been. Yeah, buddy. There's been relentless, beautiful opportunities for buying this whole week. As much buying as there is selling. And it's been fantastic to play. Shouldn't risk be to the upside? Negative. Assuming I understand your question. Until I see signs of selling climax. Like today, for example. If the selling flows are quite strong today. The selling flows are stronger today than they were any day of the week. Because all 3 days this week were pretty bullish. Today, if they dump this thing and don't bounce it, then the risk now is to the down. The risk is looking for the flows to continue, and we'll be probably in a markdown event. But if they bounce this thing and claim highs just like they've done all week, just more accumulation. We had a 3C bounce with no rejection with volume. Well, there was still a pretty hectic the bounce there. But today it's all about the daily close for me to get us into the markdown event. If they sell this thing off or even put in new lows, because right now the morning low is what, 520? So if they claim new lows and they don't bottom wick, then we are looking for a markdown event to occur. We're going to probably start coming down into the end of the week, or end of next week, I'm sorry, because next week is what? The quarterly end, right? Which we all anticipate to be pretty shenanigan filled. ES is $50 a point. I think that's what he meant. 10 points in ES. There you trade Nasdaq. Yeah, Nasdaq is 20 bucks a point. ES is $50 a point. You know, my trailing stops and position sizing are all based on market structure. So on high confidence days, when the setups are confident, I'll trade my full position size, which is anywhere between 3 to 4 to maybe even 5 minis. So although it's rare, 4 is usually where I stick around. 3 to 4. Small position sizing is 1 mini. If I'm doing overnight positions where I'm not really monitoring, I'll go into the micro world, but usually it's about 1 mini if I'm doing small position sizing. Question about TPT. If I made $225 on my first day on eval, would that mean my trailing drawdown would be 448,225? It depends on your whatever the balance was before you close it. Because if you went like to $500 in profit but closed at 225, then you have to account for that extra unrealized gain too. That's the drawdown, the downside of TPT. Upside is you get daily payouts. The downside is you have to put up with trailing drawdowns on unrealized gains. Every time my finger's on the sell button, the voice that says no shorting, I cleared the trade and set it back. My count is up. There you go. That's the way to do it, baby. That's the way to do it. I realize this week I'm not ready for 3 to 4 minis after getting my butt smacked. Made my daily goal with just 1. There you go. You know, some of my biggest my biggest days I've ever had, my biggest single days I've ever had on prop firms have been using 3 minis. And that's speaking in my world, because some people are using 10 and 15. I've toyed around with 10 and 15 minis before, and I hate it because I find myself, I always cut my profit short when I'm running 10 and 15, because we always fantasize. Every one of us does it. We fantasize about putting on 10 to 15 minis and catching 100 points, right? We always do that. And I do it myself. But every single time I put on 10 and 15 minis that I've tried it, I cut my profits way too short. I'll stop out for 10 points or 5 points when I should have been holding for 70 to 100, like these trades. These 70 to, 50 to 70 point wins I'm putting on there, it's because I'm properly positioned. 3 minis, 4 minis for me, which is about normal. But if I go to 10, 15, I'll stop out after 5 points because it's too much money. It's too big. The risk is too big of a drawdown. $10 to 15 is crazy. It is crazy. It is crazy. But unfortunately, a lot of people do it. I mean, heck, look at Patrick Whalen. He does it on his streams. He's scalping 15 minis. People eat that crap up, man. They eat that crap. I don't recommend it. I'm still struggling to find the right position sizing with props. Well, it depends on the drawdown you're dealing with. It depends on what you're capable of managing and what you're normally able to manage. And it has to change with your buffer. So if you've got like a smaller account, like a $25,000 or a $50,000 account, which usually has anywhere between a $2,000 to $3,000 drawdown, you can't play with very much size. You've got to be in the micro world. So 2 to 3, maybe 4 micros here and there, and inch your way up. I use guerrilla warfare trading. Never take a trade that will determine the outcome of my account. I love it. Always live to fight another day. Always live to fight another day. Why not close out half your size? Because I mean, I've definitely toyed with trading that kind of size, but me personally, I am not a high risk trader. So obviously, when you trade bigger than your pants, you're not going to make sound decisions. That's the whole point of risk management. You know, when you put on 15 minis and you get 10 points and you see your P&L rocket to $3 and $4 and $5,000 in about 10 seconds, you're like, holy crap. And it gives you a massive endorphin release, and there's too many emotions involved in that trade. So when I trade normal size, I perform way better. My hit rate's better. My profit's better. My biggest days I've ever had on prop firms are simply because I'm trading my normal position size, and I can let the accounts and the trades go for as long as I need them to, because there's no big fear of getting destroyed in the event that I'm wrong. Whereas if you put on a 15 mini and you're wrong, you're going to smoke. Even the biggest account is going to get wrecked. So no thank you. Look at that 5-minute chart. Disgusting. All right, I'm going to give it about 15 more minutes here. I'm going to call it a day. 2 trades for me today, 2 longs. I know, surprise, surprise, no shorting, right? No shorting. Nice, Gabe. Have a good weekend, buddy. What's the most important deciding factor when choosing a prop firm? I'm trying to decide between MFEs, scale, core, or pro options. Well, my opinion about prop firms is that you cannot choose a prop firm that has too restrictive of rules. I do not like consistency targets or rules on funded accounts. Like Top Step right now, in my opinion, their worst rule is that they have to require you 5 days of trading of $150 profits to take a payout. I hate that, but Top Step is so good everywhere else that I'm willing to put up with that. But I don't like these prop firms that have like Tradeify. Tradeify has 20% consistency rules, so on a funded account, which I think is insane, because it's going to handcuff you when the days that you trade really well and you have a really high profit. Now you're supposed to stop trading or cut your profits out because the consistency target, like that stuff. So, in my opinion, never touch a prop firm that has a consistency target on funded accounts. Funded accounts. That's my thing. Nothing too constrictive. Don't do a prop firm that is going to demand a high degree of explanation like Apex. You have to send in like your birth certificate and pictures of your children and what school they go to and your blood type and video of the footage, like all that stuff. No, I'm just kidding. But Apex is terrible with that. So you want to find a prop firm that is as close to a real brokerage as possible, who obviously they're going to have rules in place because they're a business. They have to be able to catch the low-hanging fruit, the people that are idiots. But other than that, find yourself something straightforward. The reason why I chose TPT is for 2 reasons. TakeProfitTrader is because 1, they offer daily payouts, which are extraordinary. Number 2, zero hassle. There's no rules on their payouts. So they don't ask you for input. There's no questions asked. You can scalp. You can micro scalp. You can change your position sizing. It doesn't matter. And you're able to trade with them and take payouts. Top Step is the same way. They don't offer any rules. There's no nonsense, no BS, no questions. They just let you trade. Now, granted, I haven't tried any other prop firms, but I haven't really gone looking either. It's been 3 years since I jumped on the OM jabroni train, and it's been a life-changing experience. Wife and I are saying thank you. We're seeing our first 7-digit long-term account. Holy crap, Azor. That's amazing, buddy. Well freaking done. I used to do that on eval accounts. I didn't have much bigger progress on them. We're coming up on monthly recycle fee. That's why I figured a crazy size. No biggie. If I won, then great. Became funded. Yeah. What's the difference between Top Step and TPT? Well, there's got to be differences. The main con of TPT is the trailing drawdown up until you get to the buffer, the balance, and then it stops. Obviously, the main drawdown of Top Step is they demand 5 days of $150 profits before you can pull your money out. That I don't like. Other than that, they're very similar. Like once you hit the buffer, in my opinion, TPT is better once you achieve the buffer on your funded accounts. TPT is a better bet because you could take money out every single day. TopStep has a better brokerage. They offer TopStep X, which I think is pretty great. Man, the put buying is starting to pick up. Aggressive put buying. I will say the consistency is annoying. Most of them have it, but if you're on there for long term, long haul, looking to build up account size, consistency will become somewhat. Yeah. My gold standard for a prop firm is to have it as close to a real brokerage as you can. And once you hit the buffer, TPT achieves that. Because literally, you could trade and you pull every dime out that day if you want. Once you hit the buffer, everything above the buffer is withdrawable. So if I have a $20,000 day on TPT, I take it all out right then and there. No waiting. And they're instant payouts too. So, just missed that 3C, right? I don't see much here. This is not something I really want to be trading. Yeah, I mean, volume came in there, 100%. Yeah, so yeah, you're right. 5 minute, I'd probably need a little more confirmation because if the volume doesn't show up on the 5 minute, it shows up on the 1, but I don't really want to be trading off the 1 today. TPT's great payouts, but weaker trade copying then. Well, TPT offers many different options for brokerages, but the one that I chose was Quantower, and their copy trading is terrible. It was terrible. So, what was your first trade off the 1? Negative 1 and the 5. Volume on the 1 minute, price action on the 5. $50 bounce. Oh man. When you get the high volume, how many minutes do you wait to get the other C's to take a trade? It depends. There's not this time frame that I'm waiting for. Not like that. And that's not like I'm setting a watch for a couple of minutes. So I'm just waiting for the setup to unfold. Remember, the 3 C's are all a representation of my trading concept of what I'm looking for. I'm trying to boil down my decade plus of experience in trading into these 3 rules. So the volume tells me you've hit some sort of liquidity point, support or resistance. The wicks are going to tell you that the price action is moving in correlation to what you're looking for. And the third C is your confirmation the order book is ready to go that direction. So the volume is going to tell you support, in a case if you're looking to buy the dip. Price action wick is going to tell you that the price action has started to buy up into that support. And then the third C, which is the price action over prior high, is telling you that we're accept higher prices, at which point you want to look for an entry for an upside move. In my opinion, the most important part of that is volume. Did you stick with Tradevate then? I was thinking of trying Quantower. Well, it depends. If you're copy trading, both of those suck. Quantower and Tradevate both suck. Besides copy trading, Quantower is fantastic. I love Quantower. Their copy trading though sucks. I do not use the copy trader. Almost sounded like from New York there. The copy trader. I don't use the copy trader with Quantower. But Tradevate sucks in every way possible. Calls and puts. Right now we have 746 million of calls, 517 million of puts. When you say the price action on the 5, you're not necessarily waiting for the 5 to close, right? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. That's why I'm saying the third C is an art form. The first two C's are ironclad technical. The third C is more of an art form. What am I looking to get out of this trade? What am I looking to get out of the setup? The whole theme is to point me is that when I'm looking to buy the dip, I'm trying to catch the right side of the V. The worst possible thing to try to buy the dip is trying to catch a falling knife. Waiting for the third C to at least form is going to keep you from doing that most of the time. You're still going to catch falling knives regardless of what you do because the market is like that. The market is manipulated like that. But most of the time it's going to keep you safe. Yeah, you've been using Quantower too? Yeah, it's great. I love it. Have you tried any cloud-based copy traders? I have not. When looking for the confirmation number, do you use the prior candle's close or high? Is not necessarily the candle right before. It's just the whole setup. Like in this one in particular, the reason why I chose 571, 570 for a pivot is because I need to show that's where the higher high was. Because, hold on, let me get my brush out. We had a bottom wick right here. Are y'all on this chart? Yeah, I'll make sure the YouTube can see it. We had this bottom wick right here, and then we had the top of this prior candle. So for me, I wanted to be able to take this position and then let it go because this is the right side of the V, this part. Now in this case, you could have got an early entry in and you could have caught an additional 60 points. Absolutely. But we didn't have an extremely high level of volume. We had some inflow of volume on the 1 minute and the 5 minute. But it wasn't like this. If the volume was much higher, I would have played probably way earlier in that setup. But we didn't get an obvious, holy crap, they're buying the crap out of this volume. So we had the wicks, both on the 1 and the 5 minute. We had a beautiful bottom wick. But the second they come up and they tapped my target, they rejected it. The second time they moved above it, that's where you take entry. When they finally clear it is when I want to get in the trade, set my stop, let it eat. And then after that, you heard me say, well, my first target is going to be up here at the 595, which we blew right through. And after that, it's going to be coming up to the next support resistance, which is right here. Support, resistance. That was my next target, which we didn't achieve. We got close. We got close. Actually, we did touch it. I didn't get a fill there, but we did touch it. So right now, a 3C would be 24,609. If you're looking for a bounce here, is what you're asking? No. Well, let's go to the 5 minute. On the 1 minute, a prior high would be right here at 594. So I would want to see 594 claim. If you're looking on the 5 minute, 603 up to 609, yes, would be the case. So to confirm on the 5-minute, you would need higher prices, which is about 603. Yeah. Whichever pivot point you choose when you do your indicating wicks or no. It really depends on how the setup is. I want to see what are they using as a micro support or resistance, because you could see what they're trying to do. You could see whatever level that they're trying to do. So in this case right here, 570 was that little pivot because they bounced off of it, they broke it, they rejected it again. They almost rejected it 3 times, and then finally they breach it. So you could see that that is their pivot. So you don't want to fight those pivots. That is the obvious little micro resistance here. So that's what I need them to break to show me that they're ready to go higher. But just look organically at the charts. Watch the charts and figure out what level are they using as support or resistance here. Like right here, for example. Right here, they were using, 590 as resistance here. So I want to use 590 as my point to break and go long on this area on that particular time frame. So just pick out the obvious organic resistance and support what they're doing here. Most of the time, it's right about the high close, somewhere in that area. I was beaten by the drop at 10 a.m. minus 900. I've recovered to 36. There you go. Hey, remember, that's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. So you don't need to get it back. You've made a nice recovery. Call it there. Red day is a red day. You know what's worse than a red day? Blowing everything up because you want to make it better. Big old green candle. Look at that. Blastomeroni. What happened on gold? I mean, gold put on some beautiful, beautiful 3C moves. Look at that. Right there. And now they're just kind of hanging out at 38.07. So, CL still climbing up. One thing I need to remember on the 3C's entries is that they are a counter trend. I should size accordingly. I often get long big and expected to take out the session highs. Yeah. Well, yeah, most of the time that we're discussing the 3Cs, most of the time it is counter the move. So I'm looking to play the bounce, I'm looking to play the rejection, but they can also be used as, continuation. If price action climbs into a resistance and there's no high volume spike, you play the continuation. But yeah. Massive green move there. Look at that. Beautiful. How can you tell if high volume means breakout or reversal? Because you're not going to get high volume on a breakout. Most of the time. Obviously, there's going to be anomalies. Candles are wild. Well, now we're into the afternoon session, man. We're getting into the late morning, early afternoon hours, which becomes a little bit more odd. But look at the volume drop off. So that's the indication for my system to kind of take a step back. The volume spikes are getting weaker and weaker, which is going to show a little bit less confidence. So it's time for me to begin to hit the old dusty trail. It's a reason why I shut off my prop accounts at 10, and I kind of step away once, especially on a Friday, into the afternoon. So right here. you're good, Dan. You're good. ES resistance is 66.78 and 50% Fibonacci. Love it. You're welcome, Mateo. Good question, buddy. Appreciate you. I have one account with Quantower, another with TradeEvade. I use the TradeSyncer cloud-based app for copy trading. It's pretty good. Interesting. I'll have to take a look at it. You as well, Crucio. I took entry at 24,607 with a targeted VWAP at 6.2. That 3C worked. Nice, Callie. Well done, buddy. Well done. We have 850 million in calls being purchased, 565 million in puts, and they are still buying every dip they throw at us. Your SR flip here, in my opinion, is going to be the 642. So if you're looking to be bullish, 642 is the line at which you need to cross, and that'll come back up to the high of the day. And then you can go forth and conquer. I'm going to come back on, obviously not on the stream, but I'll jump back in the Discord this afternoon to do some analysis on the daily to see where we finish. If we claim new lows of the day, in my opinion, we will have initiated the markdown event, especially going into the quarter-end close and the JP Morgan collar roll coming up next week. If they come back up and reclaim new highs, that's just accumulation, baby. So today's indication, I mean, you can't fight the chart. You can't fight the order book. And if they are constantly buying the dip with volume, that is screaming accumulation. So, low of the day today with no bottom wick will tell me that we are ready for a markdown event. So be smart, use the charts, use the 3Cs to your advantage, and think critically about the charts. What's up, Unrestricted? If you have any questions about anything, let me know. I've taken 2 trades today. One long off of 572. One long this morning off of the big bottom wick. Other than that, I haven't touched a single thing. So all my prop firms are locked up. Obviously, I can't lock my IBKR, but I don't consider I won't really consider taking another trade the rest of the day. Other than that, man, that's all I got. So if you have questions, hit me up in the DM, shoot them in the channel. Otherwise, I will see y'all bright and early next weekend for another beautiful week. I'm out. See you.